In the past, we've looked at the scientific literature on the benefits of dried fruits and veggies. Typically, we do it when we dehydrate it. We use a dehydrator, you know, something you plug in. But what if you could just go out in the sun? The trouble is, I live in an area that is humid for much of the summer, and so it's just not as easy to put things out in the sun and have it be able to dehydrate. So that's where using a solar dehydrator can actually help out. So we're going to look at a solar dehydrator and how that may be able to help you be able to preserve your food without electricity. Hey everybody, Chad Cruiser here with Health and Homestead. Now if you live in an arid part of the country like the Southwest, California, Arizona, so forth, you could dehydrate food just setting it out in the sun. But when you live where I do up in the north, it's humid much of the summer and it's just not possible to just set it out. So you have to have some kind of special outdoor dehydrator. And we're going to be looking at something called the Dehytray, which is something that was produced by a group of people out of Purdue University from Jua Technologies International. And their purpose was to make something so that food wouldn't be spoiling and being destroyed, because upwards of maybe 30% of food spoils because people aren't able to take care of it, preserve it, process it, whatever. And here's a way that someone, even in a humid environment, may be able to save and store their food without electricity. The awesome thing is, if you make a solar dehydrator or you buy a solar dehydrator, from this book right here, the Solar Dryer helps to understand relative humidity, and they share that if you had a day that was 85 degrees Fahrenheit or 29 degrees Celsius with 80% humidity, and then the dehydrator sitting out in the sun raises the temp to 120 degrees Fahrenheit or 49 degrees Celsius, it will drop the relative humidity to 28%, so you can still do this in a humid climate like the eastern half of the United States. Hotter air can hold on to more water, and because of that it drops the relative humidity as the temperature goes up. And so creating something like the Appalachian solar dehydrator, or just some kind of simple solar dehydrator, or in this case the Dehytray, we're going to see how this works. One of the cool things about solar dehydrators is they may work down to, when the outside temperature is somewhere between 45 to 50 degrees Fahrenheit. So you're talking pretty chilly days, but the temperature may even double inside the box. So this still will potentially enable you to do it even in cooler weather. One of the great things about dehydrating is that it actually may preserve more of the nutrients than canned food. Some of the vitamins may actually deteriorate as a result of dehydrating, like vitamin A and vitamin C, but the great thing is you can get things like your vitamin A from storing carrots, or you can get tons of vitamin C from potatoes, and potatoes are a great storage food, so you don't need to get all your vitamin C or vitamin A from your dried food. So I want to do a quick test of both the humidity and the temperature inside the Dehytray. Right now outside it is 83 degrees and 54% humidity. Now I'm going to stick this inside the Dehytray and see what the humidity ends up being in there and the temperature inside it. A little bit later I check and it is 111 degrees, looks like 0.4, and 28% humidity. One of the wise things to do is within the first hour or two after you put it out in the sun is to use the scraper and turn them over. The reason is because they really can get stuck. I mean, if you've ever used a standard electronic dehydrator, you may know that also, depending on what you're doing. If you're doing herbs, it doesn't really matter. But if you're doing things like fruit, that can be quite sticky because of the fruit juices, the sugars, they really stick. So I should have come within the first hour or two, but we had to leave. Somebody invited us over to eat. We ran over to eat and now we're back. It's probably, what would you say, 4 hours or so later? Yeah, so, but I am amazed. Look at these already. I mean, these look, you can bring it right down. You can notice this. These things look like they are almost done. It's been like 4 hours and some of these are probably close to being done. I mean, I'll probably stick it out tomorrow, but this is amazing. Although I'm a little afraid that how they're gonna, oh, look at that. Yeah, like these ones are not done. These will need another day for sure. But the fact, I'm glad to see that they're not sticking so bad. So I'm actually pretty impressed. I'm glad they give you this scraper. This is really beneficial. Let's take a look at the apples and the pears. Some of the pears are almost translucent. They really have gotten, they maybe were even too thin, but you got to figure out as you go. But look at these apples and pears. This is incredible. I mean, they look, I mean, this is not done, but look at this. This is, I guess I went too thin with some of these pears. We'll see even what happens here. Wow, you can see that it is very, the one side is dry, and if I would have flipped them earlier, who knows, this thing may have been done by now. But I'm impressed by this. I mean, the fact that it comes with this thing, obviously it's a very simple addition, but the fact that it helps so well, I'm happy with that. Actually, I don't even, these apples, they can just turn over. You don't need the scraper for the apples. I guess they're not so juicy like the pears. So it took 2 days, and actually maybe a little shorter because probably a couple hours each day. I would take them in at night, and I had to leave, so I wasn't able to leave them out the full time, but I think 2 days would have been enough. These are the bananas. I've already eaten a little bit just to see how they are. I love freshly dried bananas. Let me show you the other side. These are the pears, so this is pear here, and these are the apples. And what we're going to do is, I also want to do one of the tests with a hygrometer to make sure that they are actually dry enough. But these are phenomenal. They're just ready to go right now as far as eating them, so they're good to go. One of the nice things is that it comes with a hygrometer and a thermometer. So you got the temperature over here on the right, you got the humidity over here on the left, and all you have to do is take it and put it inside a plastic bag or a sealed container. You could put it in a jar or a glass jar with your dried fruit, and leave it there for 15 minutes or so. And if you can get the humidity under 60%, it should be good for long-term storage. Now, obviously, the lower the humidity, the better. So it looks like the bananas are 48%, so we look plenty good to go. Which means I guess it could take less than 2 days if you were willing to go closer to 60, but to be honest, I'd rather be in the 40s than in the 60s. So what I found with this dehydrator is that thinly cut apples in hot weather can be dehydrated in 1 day. Now, the fatter ones might take you a couple days. Things like bananas seem to work in about 2 days. My wife and I lived for 4 years in a motorhome, and I thought about using this. This would be a perfect thing to carry with you as you were traveling in an RV, a motorhome, those kind of things, because you could actually pack things into it. You could pack some books or utensils or whatever you needed, and then you could just pull it out, and when you wanted to, you could do it in an RV park, set it out in the sun, and at night you bring it back in and bring it back out during the day. A few years ago, I made the Appalachian Dehydrator. It's a large, massive thing. It's probably like almost 7 feet wide and 6 feet tall. And I hope to do a video on that in the future and show you how that one works. But in comparison with this massive thing that I've made versus the Dehytray, I love the fact that this is something that, you know, my wife can easily pick up and move around. The Appalachian Dehydrator that we made is difficult. It does have wheels that you can move, but it's a beast. It weighs quite a bit. So to have something that's so easy to get around is very helpful. The nice thing is you can nest them inside of each other, so you can stack them up. So overall, I think this thing works fantastically well. The only negative is I can say that it is quite expensive. So I would love to have maybe 3, 4, or 5 of them, honestly. But to do that costs quite a bit of money. But in the long run, it could be actually beneficial. You could also try building something on your own. You might be able to do it and make them cheaper. But this is a fantastic device for someone who wants something that's already prepared, ready to go. The Dehydrate could be a great option. I love dehydrating, and being able to do it without electricity is a phenomenal way to go. By the way, if you want to check out the Dehytray, I'm going to have a link down in the description. You don't want to miss that. And by the way, if you haven't seen our video looking at some of the research on dehydrated food, check it out. It's right here. fantastic. You do not want to miss that. God bless and have a fantastic day.